Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty Show, and today we're talking Redraft Fever. We've got Matt English in the house, and I've started up one of my main drafts, a couple of Guillotine Leagues. Matt, how are we doing this morning? How are you looking for you start any of your redrafts up yet?
Yeah, so I've done one redraft. I've got a couple more coming up. Most of my redraft leagues push to like the very last second before the season starts, as to avoid any, picking a dude and then rips his ACL in a preseason game or practice, and then you're screwed on that. So we like to wait as long as possible.
Yeah, I generally, most of my redrafts aren't until, that final week before the season either. But I do have one 16-man keeper league that fired up this week, and we are in round 9 now. And I'll bring that team up later for you. I think you'll be pretty excited to see that team with your Houston Texan affinity. Yes.
Okay.
So, we'll get into that one a little bit later. But for now, we're going to fire off with talking about just redraft season in general and how it relates to our dynasty rosters. Like, how do we want to apply that redraft fever that's going on amongst a lot of our league mates, right? Some of our league mates may not be in as many dynasty leagues as we or you out there listening are, and so they might value the higher end veterans a little differently than us seasoned dynasty managers. And so how do you want to sort of leverage that into your rosters and apply that and help your roster? Because I mean, even myself and Matt as well, we want to win. We're playing this game to win, ultimately. It's not, you don't get anything for having the most valuable roster, right, Matt? So how are we applying the fever for the point-scoring veterans to our dynasty rosters properly, I guess, is the main question I want to start off with. So what are your thoughts on that in general?
Right. So one, with the vets having a little bit higher value in the redraft, certain dynasty players may then, or now at this point in the year, start to value those guys, thinking, oh, if I get him, maybe I can really push to win. Well, if you're a contender with a couple of aging assets, maybe it's an opportunity to get younger players in there that keep you in competition, or add a pick here or there, as long as that trade doesn't deplete your players that are going to be your big producers too much, right? Or you can do what I like to do, which is if you have a middling team, or you're kind of like on the cusp of having to do a rebuild, or you're at the end of your run and you're looking at retooling or reloading, this is a time you can move off of those aging pieces and still get high value. Because if you wait too long, people start thinking about next year's draft and that they're not as valuable and I don't want to give up my pick for them. But if you catch them right now, maybe you're getting more for those veterans than you would get, say, 2 months ago or in 2 months from now. So that's how I kind of look at it. I had a roster that I drafted a team. I made what I consider a couple of mistakes in the draft. So I didn't really like my team, and instead of like really pushing to try and compete, I decided to go the other direction, start stacking some draft picks, get in some young talent, and I've gotten rid of like all but one veteran, and I've brought in a bunch of young studs, but I've increased my draft assets as well by getting rid of those. And I got a lot of pieces that I probably wouldn't have got had we not been in redraft season.
Absolutely. So one of the guys that we could bring up right off the bat here is I just went over to the Dynasty Daddy website trade database, and Trade-A-Base. Sounds like a new website. Trade-A-Base.
It sounds like something that came out in the 80s to watch movies on, like Betamax. Trade-A-Base.
So So one of the guys that's been propped up this offseason quickly so far is Calvin Ridley, okay? So Calvin Ridley, of course, a 30-year-old wide receiver, and there's a number of them out there right now. And but just like last year, Terry McLaurin, who had never really had that top 10 season that a lot of us Dynasty players had been hoping for, finally last year, with a rookie quarterback nonetheless, it happened, right? And now this year, we find Calvin Ridley in the same position, basically, as Terry McLaurin was last year. And so here, I'm just going to show you guys out there. Here's some trades for Calvin Ridley recently, all right? And so these are, I narrowed it down to just 12-team leagues, mostly full PPR here. But you can see some of the trades going for Calvin Ridley, all right? We've got Ridley for Josh Palmer, a third and a fourth. Josh Jacobs for Connor and Ridley. Ridley for Javonte Williams in a third. Ridley for Wan'Dale Robinson in 2 seconds. So you see the general area where Ridley is going for, Matt. Now you can talk about Ridley first, but then address like the 30-year-old wide receivers as a whole. All right, so let's do the first trade here, or the third one I would bring up. Calvin Ridley for Javonte Williams and a third. That one's interesting with Javonte in there.
Yeah, I mean, the one that really caught my eye was the Wan'Dale in 2 seconds. And then you go down a couple of trades and you see just 1 second for Ridley. I think there's some stuff all over the map here.
Yeah.
But I think it goes to show you that you can see some trades in here that actually make sense for him. And then you see some outlandish ones. And that's kind of what we're talking about as to being able to take advantage of this, right? I mean, I think Calvin Ridley's going to have a decent year, but I think I inquired about him in one Dynasty League just to kind of get a pulse on how cheap I could get him. Because if I got him cheap, then sure, maybe I'll take him on and get some more points there. But I wasn't going to pay an astronomical amount, and that's what was asked. So,
well, cheap. Okay, let me get to that. Cheap as in a 27 second. Are you doing that if you need points? Yeah.
Like a second,
now, what about?
For Ridley,
okay, but what about 2 seconds? A 26, a 20. Let's just say a 26 second and a 27 second. Are you doing that if you need points at the wide receiver position?
Not for Ridley, no.
That's too much for you.
That's too much, in my opinion, because, like you said, he's 30, and really, there's no guarantee that he's going to go off this year anyway. We haven't had a sample size to look at. It's kind of, like you said, going into it blind, and something that's just going to have to happen, and that's a lot of faith for a 30-year-old receiver. And I'll say this, Terry McLaurin, with the very least had going for him was he always finished as a wide receiver, too.
Yeah, but Ridley does pretty much. Ridley had 1,000 yards and 5 or 6 touchdowns last year with trash, with Will Levis.
Right. Well,
so
the year before, and the year before, and the year before. It's just there's nothing that puts out there that screams to me like, I think I could bank on this a little bit to invest 2 seconds.
Sure.
I'll invest 1 second and have faith that, I mean, I've seen what he can do when he was younger, when he was paired with like decent quarterback play and decent skilled players around him. He looked really good. But that was a long time ago. And, you know, it also goes to speak how I feel about Cam Ward as opposed to how I felt about Jaden Daniels last year.
Okay, fair enough.
I could have looked at and told you this dude's legit. He's got one of the prettiest and most accurate deep balls of any quarterback I've seen come out recently. So that.
But Cam Ward was the best deep ball passer in college last year. So, I mean, of course that means he can do it in the NFL.
Well, I got more faith in Jaden Daniels than I do in Cam Ward. You know?
Okay.
So, also, offensive coordinator, I know Brian Callahan's calling plays there in Tennessee. That's great. Cliff Kingsbury does some crazy stuff and puts up crazy numbers for his players. May not win them games all the time, but he puts up crazy fantasy numbers. So you got to get behind some of that too.
Sure. Fair enough. So I guess what you're getting at is sometimes there's a little variance in the 30-year-old wide receiver, right?
He's the quarterback.
Calvin Ridley, okay, is different than Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, much better track record, we'll say. I mean, Devontae's finished top 10 numerous times already in his career. He has a future Hall of Famer throwing him the ball in Matthew Stafford, who, yes, has a tricky back right now, but all things considered, I don't want to get into Matthew Stafford right now, but I feel he's playing week 1.
Yeah, back in practice.
Yeah, so all things considered, Devontae Adams, even though he's a year or two older, you'd rather have him than Calvin Ridley.
Yes.
You'd be a little more willing to give up 2 firsts for for Adams than Calvin Ridley. 2 seconds.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Now, when a savvy league member comes back and wants your first for Ridley or Adams and a second, then it's a little trickier, right?
A first and a
How-
second? Yeah.
No, you're giving up your first rounder. You're getting back a
Okay.
second and the receiver, okay? Because that's where, put it this way, that's where a team that's rebuilding and has a lot of value already in draft picks, that's where they're maneuvering it and using it as leverage to just gain that first rounder. You know what I mean?
That I
Yeah.
agree with, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a tough move to pull off for a veteran wide receiver, right? Are you going to give up a first rounder just to get,
Depends on what my roster build is.
Yeah.
Right? And we're talking this point of the season.
This point of the season, that's the point. That's the
With
point.
Devontae
I would
Adams,
not do that right now.
Give up first and get Devontae Adams in a second round pick in return. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do that right now, but in about 5-6 weeks I may.
There you
What
go.
my build looks like
Exactly.
and my season projections going forward from there. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, Matt. I think that's the main point is that the time of the year. Like, you might look like a contender on paper. You could even be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in your league. But if you have Jaden Daniels or Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts or one of the top quarterbacks, and that's obviously going to be a main reason you're one of the top contenders, but those guys go down in week 3, and all of a sudden that falls apart, and now you've already traded away that first. That's a lot harder to swallow versus just waiting until October to make that push. That's where I don't mind giving up that first, where you already know you're sitting at 4-1 or 5-1 or 5-2. You know you're going to be one of the top 5 teams in your league, right? That's where it's okay in my mind to give up that first, that late first, then for a dude like Adams or Ridley who's going to get you points, right? Maybe you have an injury at wide receiver and now you need those points. That's where it makes more sense. So the point being right now, yes, you can shop with your seconds and thirds because we've gone over on this show a number of times the hit rates on those picks, right? They're generally 50-50. And so you do those, if even that, right? You give up those picks, you're not really hurting yourself too much. They're much easier to reacquire in the off season, right before the draft. So you can kind of almost flip them for free, essentially. You give up a 27 second for Calvin Ridley right now. He has a decent season. You can probably ship him off for a 27 second in 6 months. And so you literally just get his production for free.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like stealing production, literally. Now, you need him to still have a solid season because, again, he's 30 years old. And if he doesn't have a good season, then you're looking at who's a good example right now this year. I'm trying to think of an older wide receiver that didn't quite do so well. Cooper Kupp, okay? Cooper Kupp was an asset that early the last off season, he was tough to get anything for, right? You were lucky to get 2/3 heading into the draft. Nobody wanted to give up their second rounder for Cooper Kupp, right?
Correct.
But now, right now, there's optimism for Kupp, and so now you could probably definitely get a second rounder for Cooper Kupp, because as we started off the bat here with it's redraft season and people want points, right? Now let's go to the other end of the spectrum and talk about a younger guy who everybody's talking about, so I guess we have to give our take on, and that's Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, or simply Bill, as he likes to call himself. And found out an interesting little note on Bill. You know where he got his name from? His nickname? He watched the Bill Cosby cartoon when he was young.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how that plays into the media market right now on Bill Cosby's, the thoughts on Bill Crosby right now, but all right, here's some JCM trades for you, Matt. We've got JCM for Daniel Jones straight up.
That's bad. I'll just tell you that it's a super two-quarterback league, 12 teams. You're giving up a quarterback for a guy who hasn't even been named a starter. That's crazy. I'm not saying that Daniel Jones is going to start all year, but he is a starting quarterback week 1.
Yes,
and
he is.
Now,
Now,
a rookie running back that was drafted in the sixth round.
now you can say that, but what if Daniel Jones was your 4th or 5th quarterback?
That's fine. I still would trade it for something else.
Yeah, fair enough. Same here. I'd want a little bit more. How about this one? We go down here. Jordan Addison for JCM and Davante Adams. That one's interesting.
Wow.
We just talked about Davante Adams and the 30-year-old wide receivers. That's getting you point production immediately versus waiting for Addison's 3-game suspension to go through. And you're getting JCM then on top of it.
Yeah, that's nice. So that's actually a good move.
I love that move for a contender. I'll say that. Here we go. This one I love. Kirk Cousins and Chisholm for JCM. Oh,
hopes
my.
And dreams for hopes and dreams.
Yes. That one's a toss-up at this point. We've got another one with an older asset. JCM, Tyler Shook, Zach Ertz for Luther Burden. That one is, oof.
Whoever took Luther Burden in that deal, I feel got hosed. Because I feel like Ertz is going to produce this year. JCM could produce, and Shook's probably going to get play time.
Yeah, I think that's selling a little light on pretty much all 3 of those assets. I mean, Tyler Shook has the optimism of still becoming the starting quarterback for the Saints. Say what you will about the Saints and their offense, but, you know.
Luther Burden is behind Olamide Zacchaeus right now.
Yes.
He just traded away 3 players for, like, someone who can't beat Olamide Zacchaeus. If we put Olamide Zacchaeus out there, would you still do that deal? Probably not. Come on. Come on. Know your players and what they're doing. That's a bad deal. That's a bad deal.
That's one where, had you looked at Twitter just before you clicked accept or clicked send, you probably wouldn't have done it. Yes. That's one tip I can give you all out there is before I click on draft on any of my guys right now, I am going over to Twitter real quick. It takes literally a minute. You type in their name, and hit latest and just see the most recent 20 tweets on these guys. And if they pulled a hamstring, you know it right away. I just did it last night on Josh Downs. Okay, I was considering drafting him, and he literally just pulled up with a hamstring 40 minutes earlier in practice.
Yep.
And when you have the choice between a now hamstring injury Josh Downs versus Rashid Shaheed, who is healthy on all accounts. I know he's coming off an ACL tear, but he's healthy
Meniscus.
right now.
Meniscus.
Yes, a meniscus tear.
He
Yes.
is all go right now.
He's all go, exactly. So if you're comparing those two, both have shitty quarterback situations, right? Shaheed with the big numbers last year before his injury. I mean, to me, I consider both of them fairly equal. Josh Downs has had higher draft capital for sure. We'll give him that. But at this point in each of their careers, the draft capital really doesn't matter. Shaheed is what he is now. He's proven himself in the NFL. And he has high upside. Both him and Downs do have that upside. I'll give each of them that, but you know what's holding them back is their quarterback position. You put either of those two guys on offenses with even Matthew Stafford throwing the ball, their projection and their outlook is just much higher. Right now, you're able to steal Josh Downs and Shaheed in drafts, but
Think about Shaheed in Buffalo.
Oh, God.
Have a dominant wide receiver one, but if you put Shaheed there, what kind of numbers would he put up?
Yeah, I'd take Shaheed over Shakir. I'll say that, right? Shaheed is definitely a much more proven asset than either Keon Coleman or Josh Palmer as far as, you know, the deep ball guy goes. I would take Shaheed over either of them. And Keon Coleman was a first-round draft pick. So, yeah. So that just goes back to Luther Burden here right now. Luther Burden, who was a second-round pick, had first-round talent, second-round pick, and now he can't even beat out Olamide Zaccheaus in camp. And then once he even gets ahead of those two, he's got to deal with DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. So, like, what are we doing here with Luther Burden? Like, this is literally a bet that DJ Moore is not going to be on the team next year, and that, I mean, it's just a bad cash out on the JCM hype right now. Like, you're better off. I mean, Luther Burden for JCM straight up could be a deal, literally.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Right now.
But what's crazy is one was drafted in the second round of rookie drafts, one was picked up off waivers. So that's kind of where the dissension is on Burden and the rise for JCM.
Right. That would be a good bet.
Draft capital for him, given it just a second straight up for JCM right now, especially if you know you're a contender and that's a later, mid to late, go for it. I think that's fine, because if he does hit, you now have a young starting running back on an explosive offense, and that's a good thing to have, especially with that low of investment. My goodness.
What do you think about this one here? We've got Cooper Kupp and Zach Charbonnet for Austin Eckler, JCM, and a 26th third. So here you got one team betting on the Seattle offense and the other team betting on the Washington backfield here. Yeah. So Brian Robinson obviously taking a hit to his value here with the trade rumors. So Eckler and JCM both getting bumped up here. And then on the other side, though, you're getting a established Cooper Kupp and the, you know, shaky value right now of Zach Charbonnet. He's been pumped up a little bit. What do you think of that deal right there? 12 by 10, full PPR.
Let's just compare the guys we know are going to get points, right? Cooper Kupp is going to score points this year, so is Austin Eckler, right?
Right.
I'd rather have Cooper Kupp than Austin Eckler.
Right.
Personally. Okay?
Same.
So there's that. Then there's JCM and a 26th third, and then Zach Charbonnet. Neither one of them are guaranteed to see the field if the people in front of them stay healthy and produce. However, That being said, Zach Charbonnet's a good running back, and he's shown it, right? Like, if you look at his numbers, the 6 weeks that KW3 was out last week, he puts up, like, high RB2, low RB1 numbers. So, I'll take the Seattle on that deal there, just because, I mean, I know they're lower pieces for Seattle, but Kupp's going to produce, and Charbonnet's going to put points on the board at some point. So, if that a best ball league, I guess you can't tell, but...
It doesn't, yeah, unfortunately, Dynasty Daddy doesn't list whether it's best ball or not.
If it's best ball, I love the left side of that deal. If it's lineup league, I like the left side of the deal.
Yeah, lineup league, I like it because Cooper Kupp slides in as probably your last receiver in a flex or first guy off your bench, so he gives you good insurance. And then Charbonnet, of course, in matchups where Kenneth Walker is injured, which is undoubtedly going to happen this year at some point. Oh, I'm just playing the odds here. I did just take. I'll get to Kenneth Walker in a minute, but he's averaged missing 3 games over the course of his career so far, a season. So when those games do occur, Charbonnet is an awesome fill-in. All right, I'll take that Seattle side, even though I like the Washington offense better. Okay, Seattle is one of those offenses that can improve this year, right? They were somewhere around probably in the 20 to 25 range last year as an offense as a whole, right? But with Clint Kubiak coming in there, there's much optimism there. They signed Sam Darnold, who loves to sling it a little more than Geno Smith. So we could see bigger numbers there from Seattle. And I think it's a good offense to bet on, to make that kind of bet. You know, it's not like we're betting on the Jets offense to explode all of a sudden because Justin Fields got there. You're betting on an offense that's got a coordinator with a proven track record, who likes to get the playmakers the ball, basically.
I mean, look at what the Saints were doing last year before the injuries hit. With
Exactly.
Alvin Kamara looked insane. Rashid Shaheed was putting up high-end wide receiver 2 numbers, average. He had some wide receiver. He had a wide receiver 1 week or 2 last year before he got hurt. So, yeah, I think there's a good reason to be optimistic about a Kubiak offense in Seattle.
All right. Anybody else you want to see in the trade database? Who are you thinking? Let's bring up one other player here. Who else is high? Okay, let's go over to Breece Hall. Breece Hall has had a lot of trades recently. Let's see some of those deals quickly here, because Breece Hall is in one of those backfields where you may not have thought was going to be ambiguous, but with recent developments in camp, and of course social media plays a lot into it. I think that's what's really killed Breece Hall, honestly. His value.
Say we will be a committee.
Right, but Breece Hall hasn't helped. So, like, Breece Hall hasn't really helped his situation value-wise, like, by what he does. Somebody signs a deal and he puts a money bag emoji down, right? That doesn't. We know you want to get paid, dude. Okay,
and what is he
I believe
to get a paycheck?
Right. I mean, he's got the talent. I don't think you can dispute that he has the talent to, like, if he got traded to Dallas in the next hour, okay, his value would explode. There's no doubt. His value would absolutely explode. He would jump up 2-3 spots on Keep Trade Cut almost immediately. He would jump. He would be, I mean, he'd be more valuable than Bucky Irving probably. And Bucky Irving's already been steamed up this offseason, right?
RBs 6, 7, 8, something like
But right now, I'm telling you, right now, Breece Hall, even with the talent, like, just the fact that you've got a Jets offense that's extremely questionable, right? And then you've got Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis behind him stealing touches, and Justin Fields stealing some goal line work. Like, where is the upside? So he's extremely hard for me to tap on the draft button in a redraft league where he's going around the 3-4 turn when you've got other running backs like Omarion Hampton and Travion Henderson getting steam because they're the rookies, but they're looking really, really good, right? And you've got an offense like Hampton's in LA that you can pretty much guarantee is going to have more red zone opportunities than the Jets are, right? So where are you at on Breece Hall in your... Okay, you haven't done your redrafts yet, but what are you looking at with Breece Hall? Is there any way you're even drafting him at that ADP he's at?
No. I have this nice, fun rule of thumb that we don't draft Jets players.
Well, that's pretty...
It's not entirely true. I kind of went all in on Malachi Corley last year, but that's when Aaron Rodgers was there. I've never bought into Breece Hall. Even from like his rookie year, I've never been on the Breece Hall train, and I just won't be. He's never done anything. He gets hurt when he starts to look good, and when there's competition there, it doesn't seem like he fully separates himself from it. Like if he's fully healthy and they come in and say we're going to be a committee, well, I think I would do everything I can to say, oh fuck no, we're not. It's my backfield, right? And it doesn't seem like that's kind of the attitude he's taken. It's more like I want to get paid. Well, do something first. Like put the team on your shoulder and win a couple games. Maybe stay on the field. Maybe not lose touches to two guys that just been hanging around on the roster for the last year. Not that they're not good. Don't get me wrong, but
that's fair. But let me flip the script on you a little quickly here, Matt. What about the fact that at the end of this season he's a free agent? Okay, he's going to go somewhere where he's going to get hyped up. He very likely is going somewhere where he's going to get hyped up. Right? Now where is his value then? His value is going to go
That's
go up.
You're going to take a year investment, though, to see that happen. And you assume that he doesn't get hurt and that he produces this year to get the big deal next year somewhere else. There's a lot of assumption that goes into that. And I don't know. I just don't think it's worth it to me. And like as I look through some of these deals, most of them give me the other side.
Yeah, let me get... Okay, so the first one right there. You got Breece Hall going for Isaiah Pacheco, very questionable in and of himself. Pacheco and Theo Johnson. Like, I'll take the Breece Hall. Give me the Breece Hall on that.
Yeah, that's fine. Look right across from it, though. Higgins, Caleb Johnson, Ayuk for Breece Hall.
Well, yeah, now that I don't know any...
Breece Hall, give me Devonta Smith. Bucky Irving and Aaron Rodgers for A.J. Barner, Breece Hall, and Kyle Monungai. In a vacuum, give me Bucky Irving and Aaron Rodgers. Cam Ward, 2 firsts and a third for Geno, Breece, and a second. Give me Cam Ward in the picks.
Oh yeah.
A lot of these deals just look dumb to me. But if I had Breece Hall and someone offered me Devonta Smith, I would do that in a heartbeat. Devonta Smith might be the greatest wide receiver 2 value on draft days. So.
Yeah, Devonta. I think Devonta's definitely taken a hit for some reason right now, from what I've gathered, especially in the couple of leagues I've drafted so far. And for instance, a dude kept Ricky Pearsall in our 16-man league. He had to keep one guy at least, right? It's a 1, 2, or 3-man keeper league, and then we do a couple supplemental rounds for the guys who only keep 1 or 2, right? So everybody's then to 3 players. Dude kept Ricky Pearsall over Devonta Smith, and let me ask you, you're leading the charge on the Ricky Pearsall fan club. Are you keeping him over Devonta Smith?
It's tough because I really like Pearsall and I do project him to have a big year.
Like, if you got to keep
For
one.
a keeper, that's tough, man. That's tough. Because I've got him.
I love it. I got
them
you
both
here.
on a lot of teams, man. Why do you got to put me on the spot like this? I probably look. If I'm drafting to win, if it's redraft, right? Obviously, you're drafting to win. I'd probably still keep Pearsall for the upside because Devonta Smith is going to have his upside capped with the presence of A.J. Brown and the fact that they're a limited passing offense. Even with an uptick in passing volume this year, trying to give Saquon some less touches, I still see him as a little bit capped, whereas Pearsall is going to have the opportunity to come in and be the wide receiver one with a good quarterback in a good offense. So give me Pearsall still.
Yeah, I think that one there, you're definitely making the bet on the passing volume of the Niners or passing efficiency of the Niners, right?
Yeah.
It's just a more advantageous situation in that regard.
Yeah. Well, plus it's also the upside, man. I feel like if you really want to win, you have to be drafting upside on players. If you're drafting to play it safe, you're never going to break through the ceiling. You got to have the upside on players to actually do it. So
Now we've got a question here from Terrence. I personally been thinking of doing a haul for Walker and a plus deal. Well, I think both you and I are going to agree here on this one. Which side you like, right? Haul for Walker and a plus?
So he's giving up Breece Hall for Kenneth Walker
Yes.
and what?
I would hope so.
Yeah, I want to know what the plus is, but I already like where this is going.
Well, aren't you? I mean, literally, Hall and Walker. I would think in my opinion, Hall and Walker. I would almost do that straight up. Take Kenneth Walker. I'd take the bet on Kenneth Walker right now.
Yeah,
So
I'm with you.
any
I just
plus.
want to know what the plus is. That's all.
Sure.
That's what
Well, okay. Let's say he just says a second. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I just like, right, I mean, we both like the Seattle offense to score.
Do the deal.
Yeah, we like the Seattle offense to score more. And that means that Kenneth Walker's going to get more touchdowns.
If you just listen to everything they've said about Kenneth Walker since Kubiak's got there, I mean, one, it's a scheme built for Kenneth Walker. They love him. He's the every down guy. Last year we saw an uptick in his pass catching. I think you'll continue to see that uptick. Hence look at Alvin Kamara last year before the injuries took over. So I think Kenneth Walker for Breece Hall straight up is perfectly fine. If you get extra on top of it, that's icing on the cake.
Yeah, so let me address you this, because this is a question I asked, and you know the Fantasy Reaper, and I'm a co-owner with him on a couple of teams. So I ran this by him a couple days ago. The whole narrative here that's going on in the NFL with these running backs in their fourth year. Okay, Breece Hall, one of them. Now Kenneth Walker. You've got I forget Brian Robinson. Right, all of these guys looking to get paid, and so their teams throw them out there on the block, so to speak, on the trade block now. Because even Kenneth Walker, some dude on Twitter threw it out there that pump Charbonnet up because now they might cut or trade Kenneth Walker, and everybody was like, "Where did you hear that from? That's the stupidest thing ever."
Yeah.
All this narrative just in general of a team trying to trade a fourth-year rookie running back to get something. What teams out there in the NFL are actually going to give these guys anything other than a 6th, 7th swap, right? Because not only do they have to do this trade, but then they got to pay the guy, okay?
Yep.
Do you really find any merit in this nonsense?
I mean, I understand the logic. Let's get off of him before we have to pay him. I get that part of it, but I mean, then it's what are your expectations through the process? What do you think you're actually going to get? And then I think it would also get into what does the market demand, right? And there's several teams that don't have like a shirt up backfield. I mean, look at Dallas. Dallas is a shit show when it comes to the backfield.
Right, but any of these running backs goes to the Cowboys right now, and they're the best running back in the room.
Brian Robinson goes to the Dallas, is done. Best running back in that backfield. But that ain't going to happen. They're not giving him the Dallas.
No, they're not, because they're in the same division.
Right.
They might, to try and steal a pick, because Dallas is pretty unfrugal with their picks.
Well, what if he goes to Miami? Like Brian Robinson ends up in Miami. Well, A-Chain's there, but A-Chain's injury-ish prone, right?
Sure.
But then you've got, Ollie Gordon and Jalen Wright.
Yeah, I don't like the upside there necessarily, because there's too many other bodies. Right. Like, really, what is Brian Robinson's role then? Versus in Dallas.
And healthy.
Yeah.
That's what his role would be. Goal line.
Yes.
Right. Third down.
Now let's look at some Brian Robinson deals here. Speaking of him being super cheap now, let's take this one here. Zay Flowers for Brian Robinson in the 206 in a rookie draft. I gotta lean Flowers, honestly. Like 206, you're looking at Luther Burden. Right?
Yeah.
Brian Robinson now on the other end of the spectrum. Brian Robinson for Michael Mayer and a 27 fourth. Like that's one I'd actually take the Brian Robinson side. Like I know you're trying to panic sell on Brian Robinson here, but go ahead.
It is a tight end premium at 0.75, and Michael Mayer has gotten a lot of the coach speak of we want him more involved.
Sure, yeah. I'm not buying that one bit.
How involved? Like to block?
Right. Somebody posted this week.
Brian Robinson on that deal, just so you know. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Sure. How about this one here? Brian Robinson in a 27 second for Khalil Mullings, Isaac Tesla, and Braylon Allen. That one is a little spicy. It brings in both ambiguous backfields in the Jets and Washington as the main pieces here. What do you think of that one?
I think that's I'd probably still take the Brian Robinson in the second in that deal. Because I know there's a lot of hype around Tesla and Allen right now. I'll take the second.
Yeah, with all the hype, with Hall potentially getting traded, like, how good is Braylon Allen really? Like, we're already bringing Hall down because he's on the Jets, okay? But then say Hall does get traded, well, now you have Braylon Allen, who's on the Jets, okay? And he's still going to get squeezed by Isaiah Davis and Justin Fields. And Braylon Allen, say what you want about him, but he was not as efficient as Breece Hall last year. Like, usually
Davis actually looked better than Braylon Allen. Time last year too. So there's still that piece.
And this happens in most backfields where the second guy or the third guy looks more efficient than the top running back, right? But that's because they're in on third down and they get huge holes to run for 6 yards on 3rd and 10, okay? And the defense is just giving them those yards. But Braylon Allen hasn't even been able to get those efficient yards. He had 1 carry for over 10 yards last year. Did you know that?
No.
That's ridiculous. For somebody as talented as Braylon Allen, I'll give him, he's got talent. And yes, I'd take some cheap shares of him if Breece Hall got traded, but I mean, it really lends to the case that I don't think any kind of trade is really happening at all this year before the season starts. And if you can get a second for Braylon Allen, I would take it right now, because I don't see Braylon Allen as the answer. Like, okay, yes, they might let Breece Hall go this offseason, but you don't think they're going to draft somebody to bring into that back? You think they're just rolling with Allen and Isaiah Davis next year? I mean, they are the Jets,
unless they
but
jump up and prove that that's what they should roll with. But again, it's the Jets. How much can they really prove?
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's one other thing to bring up with Braylon Allen. If you can sell him right now, I would.
I sold Braylon Allen back in like April. I sold him, the one share I had of him, I sold him for a 25 second round pick.
Yep.
I sure did. And if
Yeah,
you take that approach to that trade, well, the second rounder for Braylon Allen and then Brian Robinson for Mullins and Tesla, okay, all day. Why wouldn't you do that?
Exactly. Like that second rounder could have netted you Calvin Ridley right now. or a good dart throw on Jaden Higgins or Trey Harris or Luther Burden. You know, there's still say what you want about Burden being behind Olamide Zaccheaus. There's still potential there for Burden to definitely step up this season, and you know, all it takes is one injury from DJ Moore or Roma Dunze, and Burden gets thrust into the lineup into a much higher target share, right? I mean, Ben Johnson didn't take the guy in the second round not to give him a shot. Okay.
A confession. I think Ben Johnson drafted Luther Burden as a project because I think he sees something in him that could be outstanding. I think that's visible on tape, right?
Oh,
When you
yeah.
watch his tape, you can totally see what Ben Johnson wants to bring out of him. That being said, if you watch all of his tape, not just his highlights, let's watch some of the plays when he doesn't get the ball, he quits on his team. And so I think he's a project in the sense that like he's kind of that George Pickens head case type of a guy, right? Or he's more diva.
Sure.
I want my touches. I want to have all this stuff drawn up for me, and that's fine. But I think it's going to take time for him. And I think he realized that when he got to camp. Like, I'm not this special guy here. I'm literally fourth on the totem pole, and that's just in my room. If you count all the pass catchers, I'm more like sixth. So I think it'll be a little bit of project. Not that he can't be good. I'm just not hitching my wagons to him in 25.
All right, so we said we'd get to a couple of trades here, but first I want to go over the Guillotine League. I talked about the Guillotine draft I was doing Monday night. I want to see your thoughts on this, Matt. So, you know, you get the premise on a Guillotine League, right? Every week somebody loses.
Yes.
Yes, so if there's no matchups. Every week, the lowest scoring team gets eliminated. And so we have a draft here. I'm going to bring the board up right there for you. Okay. So I had the first pick in this one. It's a 14-team league, so I'm going to have to expand it and slide over to get to picks 13 and 14. But I had the first pick. I took Lamar. This is a super flex 14-teamer. Start 12. Only a 16-man roster, so there's only 4 bench spots and no IR. So you're really squeezed into making sure your guys are going to be scoring right out of the gate. So it's very tough to pick a Jordan Addison on a 3-game suspension. Rashee Rice even is difficult with the unknown of his suspension. Injured players like Chris Godwin and others are very difficult to select in this format. So that comes into play now with Devon Achane and his injury, right? So you see here, look where Achane went. He fell. This was a 3rd-round reversal we did, but he fell all the way to the 305 because of his potential for missing week 1. And how hard it is to invest a high draft pick in somebody that you might not even have week 1, and then you get knocked out right away, right?
Yeah.
So definitely a different redraft dynamic to this league. And then again, it being super flex really led to where are you going to go with quarterbacks? So why don't you just
Yeah, this is
no,
no.
not a keeper
Am I
league at
missing
all.
something here?
Straight
I don't
read.
see some players.
Yes, there's teams 13 and 14. Let me slide over.
Oh, okay. That's what it is then. I'm like, wait a minute. There's players that haven't been drafted here, and they should have been drafted by now.
Here you go. So you
Okay,
can
there we
slide
go.
over here. So there's Jefferson and Amon-Ra. So even Jefferson fell somewhat, I guess you could say. I mean, Jefferson went behind Patrick Mahomes, but it is a super flex league. You know, Bowers, Saquon went ahead of him.
I am
But you
surprised
can,
to see St. Brown jumped up that high. That's me, my opinion.
yeah, but Neighbors is dealing with a little injury, kind of questionable for week 1. He's probably going to play, I would think, but
He's fine.
still.
He's totally fine, I think. But like even I
Puka?
just man, that's to put him as the 4th receiver off the board. Each their own. Each their own.
Sure.
BTJ went so far back. Of course, it looks like receivers really just were taken sparingly through the first few rounds anyway.
Yeah, it was a combination of people wanting their quarterbacks. You see Caleb Williams go there at the 204, Baker going at the 207, Purdy at the 212. Yeah, well, it's a 14-team superflex, so quarterbacks
Right.
in 14-team superflex, yeah, they get pumped up. So that's why
Yeah.
Bo Nix, I mean, that you think about it, he was picking Bo Nix there to make sure he got one quarterback, and then, you know, not knowing what was going to be there for him at the 301, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the quarterback position in a 14-team superflex, it really made it interesting. So I went with Lamar at my 101. Then Nico landed in my lap. I had to take him there.
Yeah.
Still sitting there, right? So I didn't get my second quarterback there. But then at the 3-4 turn is where I had to really decide, do I want a quarterback or not? And I passed. I wanted Omarion Hampton for sure, but I took T. Higgins over the likes of all of these dudes that went after him. Like I was gonna take Dak. I had narrowed it down to. I mean, I could have taken any of 5 or 6 quarterbacks. Dak would have been the one I would have gone with. So
Yeah.
I guess what it comes down to, do you like me taking Higgins and then getting Tua, who was basically what I was left with, was Tua here at the 601. So I got Higgins and Tua versus Dak and Xavier Worthy.
Well, I got no problem with the first 3 picks. I'm not a Higgins guy. So I probably would have leaned quarterback there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, Tua's not bad. I mean, like you said, everybody's going to be running thin at that quarterback's position.
I guess I looked at it like, okay,
14
Tua
teams,
can...
man, this is a different animal than just our standard 10 to 12 teams. So everything's a little
Yeah.
bit more sparse. And to be honest, like, not a bad build. I've got like 3 of my boys right out of the gates there on that receiver. So that's...
I even took Ricky Pearsall here.
And followed it up with Shaheed. Like it's like you felt me being channeled through your index finger to click draft.
Well, you know, Pearsall and Egbuka have been 2 of the most steamed up players this redraft season, I think.
Yeah.
As far as production versus where you're picking them. Neither of them have any production in the NFL, really. Pearsall, a couple of good weeks last year at the end of the season. So there's a lot of hype on those 2, but I don't mind taking that, you know, drafting that hype in rounds 7 and 8. Like,
Yes.
you know, I mean, I took Pearsall over Debo, Golden, Addison, who's got a 3-game suspension, that was a no-brainer to take Pearsall over. But yeah, I just took Pearsall over Debo and Matthew Golden. I mean, that was just a bet on the offense, like you talked about Pearsall earlier. You're betting on the efficiency of the Niners offense versus the lack thereof, and not efficiency, but just the unknown nature, really, with what Debo's role is in Washington. I mean, I fully think McLaurin's going to play, so then that kind of limits Debo's upside. And then Matthew Golden, I just don't like buying into a Packers wide receiver. Now, had Pearsall gone, I probably would have taken Golden over Debo, I think, slightly.
I'd take Golden over the next couple, like Debo, Addison, or Diggs or Downs. I would take Golden over. And Shakir, for that matter. I think that's fine.
Yeah, I don't hate the Matthew Golden pick. Was totally fine there. But yeah, it's an interesting build. I'm happy to get 3 running backs that are starters: Hampton, Connor, and Jones. I got a good mix of youth and old there. And now I got my 5 wide receivers. And the key with this to keep in mind, I've got Tua, but as long as I make it through week 1, boom, 2 more quarterbacks are available to bid on.
Yeah. Get
through week 2. If I don't get off of Tua week 1, get through week 2, then there's another 2 quarterbacks made available, right? So, I'm probably going to have to bid higher on a quarterback than I would have to on a wide receiver, okay? Just because every week, like I said, 2 quarterbacks are going to be made available while 6 wide receivers are going to be made available, right? Yeah. But T. Higgins is definitely on the higher end of the wide receiver totem pole than Xavier Worthy. Okay, they're not that far apart. If you look at it, like Xavier Worthy was a deal where he got picked, in my opinion, especially in this format. Because if I didn't want to go running back there, which I did with James Conner, I would have gone Xavier Worthy. I just needed to. I took Conner because I had to make sure I got another running back. Otherwise, I would have been stuck with only 1 running back going into that 6-7 turn there, where I would have had to, take Pollard. I would have ended up with Pollard and Aaron Jones there, okay, and not be able to draft a wide receiver. So I'm pretty happy with my draft so far. I faded tight end totally. This is a full point tight end premium. So I faded it knowing I could get 2 cheap guys later, and I ended up with Mason Taylor and Chigo Okonkwo. So
you could be sneaky good this year, man.
Yeah. That's what I figure, or what I'm banking on is at least one of those guys being decent. And again, there's other tight ends that'll be made available that I could bid on. It'll just come down to who those guys are. You never know, and it's a crazy format. I did one of these last year, and it was just I made it to week 7, and just the bidding is nuts because the first waiver run, Jalen Hurts was available, and we got $1,000 in fab, and Hurts went for over 500 of that.
Wow.
But when you look at, a top 5 player that you get for the rest of the season, I understand that. It's different than, C.J. Stroud being available or Justin Fields being available, right? So yeah, I'm looking forward to this. This should be entertaining, and with Sleeper taking on the adding it to their option on their app, the chopped leagues they call it. Yeah, I think it's gonna definitely gain momentum within the community, and a lot of people are going to be taking this on this year, and then next year even more more so, I think a lot of people will join this. It's just so risky. Like, you work and you put all this work into a draft,
Yeah.
and then boom, week 1 it's over. Like,
Yeah.
you're done. Yeah, it's just it's almost a traumatic experience for us fantasy gamers. I mean, yeah, but hey, it should be entertaining. All right, so
Like
let's.
developing adult trauma over fantasy football.
All right, so let's talk about some of the ambiguous backfields. We mentioned the Jets and the Commanders backfields and already kind of gotten our takes on those two. What about the Bears backfield, Matt? And where are you at on DeAndre Swift and the rest of the guys there, Monungai and Roshan Johnson? Like, we've heard nothing about Roshan Johnson so far.
Yeah, he's been banged up.
Yeah. Are you, for one, where's your hype at on DeAndre Swift? I guess we'll start right there with the number one there on paper.
And I'm not very high on DeAndre Swift. Haven't been high on him ever. I know Ben Johnson traded him, and then he ended up with him again. And I mean, look, if you're going to take a shot on that backfield, then I would take the low cost investments in that backfield, right? Like Kyle Monungai or Roshan Johnson, where you can get either off waivers, from a dynasty standpoint, that is, waivers, or super cheap in a startup draft or for trade value. I mean, you should be able to get those almost for nothing. They should just be throw-ins to a deal. But that's where I would invest. I wouldn't invest in Swift at his ADP or his value, just because I don't know. I really don't know. The only two things that I feel totally safe with in Chicago are DJ Moore and Roma Dunze. That's it. I don't even feel that secure in Caleb Williams. I think Tyson Bagent is probably as good as Caleb Williams is right now. Realistic.
Well, I know that the word is Ben Johnson hasn't exactly been happy with Caleb Williams. He did do all right in the last preseason game. Got him on a touchdown drive. But yeah, I don't see, Ben Johnson doesn't seem like the type of personality that's going to sit and wait around for Caleb Williams to get it. Exactly. And I'll say this, I would not be shocked if Caleb Williams is benched at some point this season because of underperformance.
Yep.
I mean, they paid Tyson Bagent got a $10 million contract to be the backup. Like, they think highly of him.
Have you seen him
yes,
actually take snaps in a game?
he looks
He's
like
not
an NFL quarterback. He does.
He actually
And
kinda
if he
looks
can,
like a skinnier Trevor Lawrence running around, but
Yeah.
in a Chicago uniform. But yeah, he's not bad.
and if he is more decisive than Caleb Williams, that's what Ben Johnson is looking for.
Yep.
That's what led Jared Goff to thrive over the last couple of years, is his decisiveness and getting the ball out. And we all know that is Caleb Williams' biggest detraction. It's been since the whole draft process of Caleb Williams. That's what everybody, his one big flaw was that he held onto the ball for over 3 seconds, right? In college he did it.
Likes to go off script. That's why.
Yeah.
I think he likes to go off script and make the big heroic play, but that's not what wins championships. It might win you a game, but it's not going to win you a lot of games, and it's definitely not going to win in the playoffs, and it's not going to win the Super Bowl.
No. And so just because Ben Johnson went there, I did not go out there and actively try to acquire Caleb Williams. Even with the nice wide receiver weapons, I still was scared of literally that him not being a Ben Johnson style quarterback. Like, this kind of offense wants a decisive pocket passer. And say what you will about Ben Johnson being smart and wanting to come over and use the talent that's there and mold it into its own kind of offense, its own kind of animal, right? Because Ben Johnson's smart enough to know that. Like, he didn't come there and say, okay, you are going to be Jamison Williams, you are going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? That's not what he's doing with the two receivers, because they're different types of wide receivers, right? But still, he's not going to draw up stuff that's, okay, Caleb, you can go off script here and just wander around. No. Either Caleb gets it or he doesn't. So that's the one tricky aspect here. And ultimately, it bodes into DeAndre Swift's value as well, because if this offense does hit its ceiling, DeAndre Swift is in line for 10-plus touchdowns, potentially. Not necessarily, because Monangai or Roshan Johnson could steal those goal line carries. But that's where my little hope of optimism is for DeAndre Swift, and I've taken him in a couple of redrafts so far because I like that little optimism. Now, granted, I'm drafting Swift over, the lower end RB2s, so it's not, even if he doesn't get 10 touchdowns, as long as he gets 1,000 yards and 5 or 6 touchdowns, that's fine. That's all I need out of him. But there is that little sliver of hope that this offense does explode, right?
Yeah. Maybe it happens when Caleb gets benched.
Maybe, exactly. So let's go over to another ambiguous backfield in the Cowboys, closer to home for you there. What are you hearing out of Cowboys camp and Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, or Jaden Blue? What do you think there? Not a whole lot.
Nothing.
Silence is golden, right?
I just traded Jaden Blue. I have a share of Javonte, 0 of Miles Sanders. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what to tell you there. You can take your shots on it, right? Just to hedge your bet, so to speak, and grab a share of each. But I'm not investing a ton into this backfield. If Dallas is not going to invest a ton into this backfield, why should I?
Well, the argument against that is Rico Dowdle, right? Rico Dowdle was super cheap last year and put up about 1,000 yards and 7 or 8 touchdowns. So that potential is there.
We know Rico Dowdle was going to start last year. We knew he was the starting running back.
No, not necessarily. Ezekiel Elliott was there. Ezekiel Elliott, he was battling. Zeke started week 1.
That's crazy. All right. I knew that Rico Dowdle was going to lead that backfield. Ezekiel Elliott was trash in New England before he got back to Dallas.
I get it, but isn't Javonte Williams trash right now? And who's to say Jaden Blue doesn't come in? Who's to say Jaden?
He's younger than Zeke was. He's fully healthy now. And he's probably got one of the better offensive lines he's dealt with, being healthy. Last year he got hurt, or banged up, we'll say. He had a good offensive line last year, but Javonte,
so why aren't you?
I think is going to be the starter. I don't know who's going to be the biggest
in
that backfield, though.
But would it? Yeah, on a contender, I mean, 2/3 for Javonte Williams. That's for the potential for 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. I'm just talking myself into trading for Javonte Williams here.
There's worse moves you could make, You could trade away tons of good assets for Breece Hall, or you could trade a couple of middle pieces for Javonte Williams.
How about this, Brian Robinson or Javonte Williams right now? Okay.
I don't care where he lands. I will take Brian Robinson. I just think he's a better back. That's me.
Okay. Fair enough.
And
I'll lean Javonte Williams there.
Wants him and is going to use him.
Sure. If
So,
somebody trades for him, yes, they're going to want to use him somehow. Yes. The key is, does he actually get traded?
yeah.
Yeah. I just don't see anybody doing more than a 6-7 swap for somebody. He was a third round pick, but he got overdrafted by most people's draft boards, and he's been very uninspiring for the Commanders. Hence why they've got him on the block. All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of trades, let's get at it here. We've got this one is your deal with Mike Woe. In which league was this?
Birdhouse 3.
Birdhouse 3. There we go. So 12-team, start 12 best ball format, and we've got the one and only Matt English acquiring Rashid Shaheed, RJ Harvey, and Tyler Warren for Drake London, Ben Sinnott, and Jalen Lane. Now, Mike Woe does have Jaden Daniels in this league, so part of the reason he wanted Sinnott and Lane. Go through your thought process here, your roster construction. You were strong at receiver, so you were able to pull this off here, Matt, and I like it for you.
Yeah, so what did I say? Birdhouse 3, right? I'm actually trying to get my roster up so I can just refer to it a little bit easier.
Sure. So, I'll quickly
I got
mention... Okay, you got it? All right, go ahead.
So, at receiver, at the time, having London, I also have CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, DJ Moore, Ricky Pearsall. And then I also have Jordan Addison down there at the bottom of my roster.
Sure.
And I got some other guys as well. However, so I was very stacked at receiver, so I could afford to trade one. My running back situation was putrid, and my tight end situation wasn't ideal. So I wanted to attack those two things, and I figure London, with some of the other pieces I happen to have, would be a good pairing for Mike's team. I know he was looking for another receiver with Jaden Daniels, liking the prospects of Lane and Sinnott as well. Made it a little bit easier for me to put this together and get it done. I get Harvey, which isn't the best running back I could have gotten, but I feel like down the stretch his production goes up. Tyler Warren, I think, is going to average 10 to 12 targets a game.
Average? That's a
Yeah.
little high.
I think he's going to get...
7 or 8 would be very good.
Daniel Jones.
Yeah,
Daniel
he
Jones
could
is
very
gonna
well
do
get peppered.
A lot. I'm being dramatic, but you get my
Okay,
point. Right?
I get your point.
He's going to get a lot of reception opportunities. And then being best ball, I mean, I could make worse dart throws with Shaheed.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
been in my lineup several times this year. So I feel all in all, I mean, I'm not going to say it's perfectly balanced. I feel like I win this deal because of the needs I address and what I give up. But, I mean, he gets a lot of his ones too. So I think we're both happy with the deal.
Yeah, I think this is a win-win for both. Both sides were getting what they wanted. Mike wanted an elite wide receiver. But again, if I break it down, I look at Rashid Shaheed versus Sinnott and Lane. I'll take Shaheed all day there. And then when you break Drake London down versus Harvey and Warren in a best ball format, that's the key, best ball format here, which I do believe has a tight end premium as well.
Right.
I'm going to lean Harvey and Warren for sure, even though you're giving up Drake London and the potential for a top 5 season. Harvey and Warren, I mean, RJ Harvey, from all accounts, has been great at camp and earning everything that he will get this season. He may not be listed on one person's depth chart as the top guy, but not too worried about J.K. Dobbins eating too much into his workload. I know that Dobbins will get some work there, but it is one of those backfields where two guys can definitely thrive. We have other situations around the league like that in Detroit as well, just to think of one.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Well, here's the other thing to think of too. I'm going to list off the running backs I had before this trade, right? So I had Kenneth Walker, that's a plus. Rashad White, Devontae Williams.
Yeah, there you go.
Had Joe Mixon, Woody Marks, Brashard Smith, Kendry Miller, Jordan James. I needed a running back bad. My other tight ends before I traded Sennett, Zach Ertz and Terrence Ferguson. So I improved where I needed to improve, and then Shaheed jumps into the mix behind my top 3 or 4 guys. Lamb, Collins, Moore, and Pearsall. And then he gets to filter in with like Higgins and, well, Addison when he comes back. So either which way, it was a deal I had to get done as far as getting in a running back. Bolstering the tight end was a plus.
Yes. So then we've got one other deal here. Yeah, I'm with you on that deal, Matt. Again, win-win for both sides, but I definitely, if I had to pick one, I'd be leaning your side on that one. Now we got another deal for Mike. And this one I'll give him the victory lap here. So this was in the Taco Corp League we're both involved in. Why don't you go and address this trade, Matt, what you see?
So I see a lot of players on one side that I really like, and I see players on the other side that I don't really care too much for. So this is an easy one for me. Getting CD Lamb, who I think I said a couple of months ago is the one dude I can justify paying value or more for out of the top few receivers. It's the most attainable, and I'll gladly pay it. So I love CD Lamb for 25. I really think he's got a top 3 finish coming. Herbert, I think, is a better quarterback than Murray. I mean, I'll just be honest. Look at we're all down on Marvin Harrison's production from last year. Is he a bust? But if you look at his catchable balls, only like 67% of the balls he was thrown were catchable. That's on Kyler Murray. That is not on Marvin Harrison. He's getting less than 70% catchable balls. With that, I don't like the Kyler Murray part. If you look at his rushing upside, it's not near as good as you think when you average it out. Yes, he has big boom rushing games, but when you average it out over the course of an 18-week season, it's not that big of an upside. So I like Herbert over Murray. And then if you're looking at Caleb Johnson versus Waddle, I mean, you could wash it from a value standpoint. It's going to get into a preference. I just prefer Caleb Johnson. And Bijan's a nice piece, though. I'll say that. Getting Bijan is a really nice piece to have. And Kyler Murray's not bad. He's capable. You got to take a hit somewhere if you're going to bring in Bijan. But I think giving up CD was the hit. So I heavily lean on Mike's side here. I think he took a haul and got a great deal done for himself.
Yeah, I like Mike's side here, especially from the dynasty perspective. I think that this season, this is more of a win now trade for Bin Laden and not something I'd want to really pull off year one going into a dynasty. Like, yeah, Bijan versus CeeDee Lamb. Bijan could outscore him this year, but generally speaking, I'm going to lean the wide receiver when you're talking top-end assets, a running back versus wide receiver. You could cross those two off, sure, but I'm still leaning CeeDee. And then when you talk Herbert versus Kyler, you could talk yourself into saying Kyler's going to outscore him this season, but I'm taking Herbert in the long run.
You could go either way in an argument. Really
even with that individual picture they've got up for Justin Herbert right now.
That's the tiebreaker. Justin Herbert got hot.
Yeah, his hair is longer than Kyler's. Then we've got Caleb Johnson and Jalen Waddle. Like, yeah, again, you can argue Waddle. And I know I just said I'd lean the wide receiver over the running back, but that's at the top. When you get into the middle and you're taking a bet on a rookie Caleb Johnson with all that potential versus Jalen Waddle, who again, even though he's a veteran, you're taking potential there with Jalen Waddle. You're hoping that he overtakes Tyreek Hill at some point to actually win that battle. So, like, you can cross off the two quarterbacks, fine. But I'm taking CeeDee and Caleb Johnson over Bijan and Waddle all day. Like, that's not, that one.
If this was a 3-on-3 matchup, right, quarterback, running back, receiver, and that's the matchup, I'm taking the left side to win.
Yeah.
You know, I got to take Mike Lowe's side here in this. If this was the absolute fantasy matchup, just 3 players versus 3 players, I would take Mike Steele.
All right. So now I'm going to get into my 16-man league quickly before we wrap it up here today. And so this 16-man league started back in 2002. So it's been going for almost 25 seasons now. And from the get-go, it's been a 16-man single quarterback with 10 points per touchdown outside of your position. So a quarterback running one in is worth 10. A running back catching one is worth 10. A wide receiver running one in is worth 10 points. So that's the one nuance to it. But otherwise, it's 5 points for a passing touchdown. So not too much crazy otherwise. All right. And so let me bring up the league here. Here is the draft room. And over on the right-hand side here, you can see the most recent picks. We're in round 9. And let me just bring up my squad so far here. And then we'll get to, there you go, Matt. You see on the right-hand side, this CBS draft room isn't the greatest to look at versus Sleeper, but so let me start off with what we had to keep. Last year, our talent was kind of limited at the end of the season. I'm in this with Fantasy Reaper. We're splitting this one. This is a big money one. This is a $300 entry. So we had Nico Collins, Chuba Hubbard, Kyler Murray, DK. Not a whole out there for keepers. So we kept Nico, and that was it. And when you keep just one, it's a 1, 2, or 3-man keeper league. If you keep just one, you get entered into the sweepstakes for the right to go after the rookies, basically. So Ashton Genty was the guy that everybody wanted, right? Well, I ended up with the 5th pick in the sweepstakes there. So we had to choose between basically R.J. Harvey and Travion Henderson. And we went R.J. Harvey only because in this format, Week 14 is the first week of the playoffs. And Travion Henderson has a bye that week. So that was the only reason. Like, that was the determining factor. We figured Harvey has enough upside that he could potentially, be even with Henderson or outscore him even. So we went Harvey because we know we'll have him Week 1 of the playoffs. And when there's 12 teams get into the playoffs in here, it's pretty wild. 12 out of 16 get into the playoffs. That means you have a 50-50 shot at getting into the playoffs. So a pretty good shot that or not 50-50 that you're going to be playing Week 1 in Week 14. So you don't want, I fade a lot of the guys that have Week 14 buys. We'll put it that way. I really like Drake May, but I had to fade him. I really like Travion Henderson. Had to fade him. Who else? Tet McMillan on the Panthers. They have a Week 14 bye. I'm trying to think of the other two squads. The Niners, huge team. Niners are on a Week 14 bye, so that really, from my perspective, really hindered George Kittle's value because you could ride that tight end advantage all season long, and then you get to the playoffs in Week 1, no advantage, right? So that plays a huge part into this. And so, what do you think of our squad initially when you look at it here? We just took C.J. Stroud in round 9. We
Where's
waited.
The rest of your roster, or is that just it?
We're let me bring up the bench here.
I like Stroud, Harvey, Walker. Hell, I even like Pickens this year.
Here we go. Okay. Can you see it now? Yeah. So I've got on the bottom. There's the rest of it. We're only at we've only gone through 9 rounds. So I've got Cup on the bench as well as Shaheed. Shaheed's further down.
I can't see your roster. I can see some of the draft results, but I can't see anything else.
On the right-hand side there.
Yeah, it's fine. So Nico Shaheed on the bench.
There we go. Okay, now I can scroll you up and down. There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, it's like you're bringing me into your spirit when you draft.
Well, we kept Nico, so right off the bat, you're looking at where can you gain advantage against your opponents, right? This is a 16-man league, 4 divisions, 4 teams in each division. So you get a bye if you win your division. So it's really huge to win the division and get that bye. And so you're kind of battling against the teams within your division in this draft. And it's a linear draft. So the worst 4 teams are picking 4th every round, picking the first 4 picks every round.
Yeah.
The next worst division, which I was in, we were the 7th worst team, so we had the 7th pick every round. And the teams in our division, one guy kept Lamar Jackson, one guy drafted Joe Burrow to get the stack with Chase, and another guy drafted Brock Purdy about 3 rounds ago. So once they went heavy quarterback, we decided to fade the quarterback until this round. We took a risk, but we saw a nice pocket of quarterbacks in Stroud, Herbert, T-Law, Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, a number of guys in that range, right? There's like 8 or 9 quarterbacks. You can throw Drake May into that range. Anyway, even if we didn't get Stroud, we were going to be okay, right? Yep. We still weren't going to be starting Geno Smith, okay? But yeah, so what we did then, by doing that, we were able to build up, and I can bring up the roster grid. Here we go. Now you can see, give me the damn ball. There's our roster. Now, C.J. Stroud is covered up, but he's right there.
Yeah.
So that's our running back room. We've got 3 starting running backs. Say what you want about Travis Etienne, but in this format, he's at least a starter. And then we got those 5 wide receivers. And with 5 wide, that is going to be, I can tell you right now, that's going to be the strongest wide receiver room in this league. Maybe not the strongest 3 starters, but it's definitely top 3 or 4 in the starters. And then when you add Shaheed and Kupp as our 2 backups, like, I'm loving this. I'm loving it so far. We don't have a tight end, but at this point, we can pick anybody and throw it in there at tight end.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, and you got Stroud Nico staff. It's nice. And you can get one of either the top quarterbacks, top targets, or the top receivers quarterback if they're a good quarterback. I think doesn't always make sense to stack, right? It really just doesn't. But like I said, in this, if one of them is a top of their position, it's nice to have the stack.
Yeah, and in a 16-team format, right, you have to look for somewhere to have an advantage. Otherwise, you're just going to be one of the teams in the middle, right? So if our thought was, like, we're already betting on Nico Collins, right? Like, he's our one guy, our keeper. If he has a good season and hits and blows up, right? We need him to be a top 5 receiver to win this thing. If he's hitting on that level, CJ Stroud's going to be outproducing his ADP.
Correct.
You know, I don't need CJ Stroud to be QB1. I don't even need CJ Stroud to be QB5. I just need him to be
QB 17.
Yes, exactly. like a QB10 type season, right? He doesn't even have to have a Jared Goff like season last year where Goff was QB5.
And 4,000 yards. Will be just
Right.
fine. Yeah.
Right. And to be competitive against my divisional opponents, when he goes up against Joe Burrow, he can't have, 175 yards and 1 touchdown. He's got to go for 250 and 2 at least. Yeah. Right. And I like that optimism. I mean, you tell me about the Houston offense this year. Don't you think it's going to throw more with their running back situation?
Yeah. Yeah. The offensive line looks better. CJ's got more weapons. The offensive coordinator's calling more quick strikes, like getting the ball out faster. So yeah, I think they're going to throw it. There's going to be an uptick in pass attempts, and you should see an uptick in efficiency and completion percentage as well, which only helps all the pass catchers too. So, if your quarterback that's got a good arm, that's got good vision, has the time to actually deliver the football, everybody's going to win more. So, but it all starts with keeping CJ upright.
For sure.
In Jersey, there's a lot of fantasy production that could come out of Houston this year.
Okay, so I'm going to go all the way back to, like I said, we all have 3 keepers essentially, right? And then the real draft starts. We'll go back to the very beginning here and pick 49. So there's 48 guys off the board. Pick 49, Emeka Egbuka, ahead of Xavier Worthy, Mike Evans. What do you think of? Egbuka is being steamed up so much right now. And granted, yes, he could be a keeper, right, if he ends up being Tampa's number 1. But in all honesty, there were only 7 or 8 wide receivers that were kept. Okay. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. There were about 10 wide receivers that were kept. So for Egbuka to get to keeper level, he's really gotta boom.
Yeah. I like Egbuka. I don't have as many shares of him as I wanted. But the shares that I do have of him are on rebuilds. And that's not, some of that's by design. But it's not like where I'm contending. It wasn't like I saw him as something I couldn't draft. It just didn't line up for me. Like I was taking Pearsall or a Devontae Adams around those ranges as opposed to, again, it's purely upside for 25 when you're thinking about contending, right? So Ricky Pearsall has wide receiver 1 upside for his team, and who's the other guy I just mentioned? Devontae Adams, who's red zone magnet this year.
Right.
Stafford has a healthy back, and Puka stays on the field. Devontae Adams is going to outproduce his ADP so much as a 30-year-old. It's going to be great.
Now I'm just getting word on Brian Robinson here. I'm just double checking. Yes, we can break it for you.
Oh, wow.
Matt, we can break it for you. He's been dealt. Not to the Dolphins.
To the Dolphins?
Not to the Dolphins, but the other team with that offense, the 49ers.
Yep.
So
that's strange. That's a weird trade.
Yes, it's very interesting.
I don't care who he goes to, but now you have McCaffrey, Garendo, Jordan James and Brian Robinson. Unless they're trying to save McCaffrey usage, around the goal line or around short yardage stuff to keep him fresh.
Well, put it this way, I remember, you remember Jeff Wilson there, right?
Yeah.
Jeff Wilson was somewhat productive, and it was after Elijah Mitchell got injured, right? So I think that Brian Robinson fits the scheme well, in that he can bang it between the tackles, one cut and boom. I don't even know if he actually cuts. He just kind of slams it right in there. But that's kind of my thought there. It kills Garendo's value, really.
And James,
Not-
for that matter.
Oh, yeah. Now, depending on how quickly he picks up the offense and whatever. Now, Garendo still is a little more dynamic, a lot more dynamic of a player. And if McCaffrey were to go down, this is obviously just an insurance play on McCaffrey. They gave up a 6th rounder is what it is. So pretty much what we figured. But standalone value, like with McCaffrey, if McCaffrey's healthy, B-Rob is...
Might have value in best ball.
Might, yeah. He needs an injury. He needs an injury to happen, and then he'll get some work. I would think it would be a 2-man committee, him and Garendo then.
Yeah. Or
and
like I said, he could enter your lineup because he runs in a couple of touchdowns.
yeah,
That could happen just based on how everything lines up. They could end up 3rd and goal from the 1 and say, hey, just put in the big body.
right. And it's a good enough team. The Niners are easily you can cherry pick them as one of the teams that'll improve this year offensively, right? So, yeah, there's definite optimism that in that regard. It's great that he went to the Niners, but could he have gone to a lesser team and had more value? I think so, possibly. But, there you have it. That's where Brian Robinson went, and you heard it here first. A little optimism. He's a 10th through 12th round pick. That's where he is, somewhere in that regard. Pretty much where he's going right now in drafts anyway. So, yeah, it hurts Garendo a little. No effect on McCaffrey, though, in our opinion here. So... All right, well, thank you guys for joining today. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, please do. You'll be getting much more info from us as we lead up to the start of the 2025 NFL season. And be sure to throw any questions at us on the patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. You can get in with Matt and I in on the chat there and get help with any trade advice you're looking for. It's just $3 a month. That gets you access to that chat as well as some of our rankings, so you can get help there for your drafts coming up as well. But Matt, any final thought quick before we head out?
Yes. Stay active. Keep your head above the water. And
never stop working.